As we alluded to at the beginning of the show, the 119th Congress is set to convene today, and the first item on the House's to-do list? Choose a speaker. Democrats are expected to universally oppose the current Republican Speaker, Mike Johnson, meaning Johnson can only afford to lose one vote among his caucus. Now, while Johnson is expected to win most of the GOP conference, he is having trouble with a handful of far-right members. The issue at hand for these rebel members appears to be government spending and the way that Johnson handled last month's government funding fight. Take a listen to what they're saying, followed by Johnson's response.
You know, he would have a hard time to become a speaker as of this point. So I'm not sure what other conversations are. So I think hopefully he will become more, determined to have some country changes.
You can pull all my fingernails out. You can shove bamboo up in them. You can start cutting off my fingers. I am not voting for Mike Johnson tomorrow. And you can take that to the bank.
One day before the election, why are they so undecided?
People are talking through process changes they want and those kinds of things, and I'm open to that, and I think tomorrow's going to go well.
So that was Speaker Johnson there, Allie. You're there on Capitol Hill. You'll be there later, maybe, for a very long time, as we figure out what happens today. Give us the latest, though, as to where things stand. What is Johnson doing to win over these holdouts? Do you think he's going to be successful?
Well, look, they're making demands, and past as prologue shows they're right to do that, especially in a world of these razor-thin margins. They should ask because they know that the speaker is hemmed in anyway. And so 99% of the members that I've been speaking to and who will go to the Capitol today to vote for the speaker believe that Johnson should be fine, but they also know that there's a permission structure for chaos as predicated by 2 years ago, the last time we did this, only with Kevin McCarthy at the helm and not Mike Johnson. So there is an incentive structure for being a holdout, but I think, and Congressman Gabe Amo and I were having this conversation on Way Too Early, we will see a lot just by the way that this process actually goes because they vote alphabetically. You know that when you get to M, you're going to lose one. That is the only one that Johnson actually can lose, but we're going to see members like Burchett at B, Crane at C, and if any of them vote present, that means that the number is no longer 218 for Johnson. It lowers the threshold. If they vote no, then you know that the entire round is moot and that Johnson's not going to get it on that balloting round. Hakeem Jeffries, of course, will stay at the 215 hard votes that he has in his corner because Democrats have shown consistency and their willingness to go along with leadership as a united front. But Republicans, the alphabet's actually going to be quite instructive here. And we'll see. Do they let him twist in the wind for a round or two? Do they instead just get this whole thing over with? Because the prevailing view at the end of the day is that no one else can get to 218, but that's the conventional wisdom until it's not.
Yeah, and that's a good point. The alphabet will be instructive. Wise words here this morning. So the editors of the National Review argue Republicans should stick with Mike Johnson as Speaker. They write in part this. Emerging from nowhere to the speakership, Johnson has filled the role ably. He's a reliable and thoughtful conservative who has proved a shrewd tactician. Likable and non-threatening, he will never become a hate figure like some of his predecessors. He has managed, for anyone in his role, the all-important relationship with Trump well, given the circumstances. In the real world, given that there is currently no other candidate who can garner 218 votes and that the House cannot conduct business without a speaker in place, the only alternative to Johnson is chaos. If trying the same thing while hoping for a different result is the definition of insanity, it is time for the insanity to end, especially given that Republicans already have a worthy speaker in place. So, Gene Robinson, I think it's debatable whether Johnson has been a shrewd tactician. He's had a lot of trouble getting things done, with next to no success without the help of Democrats. He's also saddled with this very slim margin. But that's the compelling case that Johnson's trying to make here. If not me, who? If it's not me, then you're going to sideline and potentially sabotage the Trump agenda coming in the door. What's your read on this situation? Is that going to be persuasive?
Well, I think probably in the end it'll be persuasive because, again, there is no viable alternative that any of us can think of right now, anybody else who could get to 218 votes. That said, there is no 218 vote majority in the House for an effective speaker, for a speaker who gets anything done, because that requires working with the Democrats. And so let's assume that either on a first ballot or on a subsequent ballot, Mike Johnson gets reelected as Speaker. Great. Okay. Is that really first prize, or is that somewhere down the list? Because at some point, relatively soon, he's going to be trying to pass some piece of legislation, like keeping the government open, like raising the debt ceiling, whatever. He's going to need Democratic votes, and so he's going to get them. And again, there will be this threat. One question is, are some of the naysayers, are they demanding a rule change that would once again make it easier for them to get rid of the Speaker with just one member coming up and saying, let's vote him out? Johnson managed to raise that number to, I believe, 9. And so that gives him a little cushion. But are some members demanding that they go back to this sort of very precarious one-vote teetering situation for the Speaker, which will make him even less effective?
It's interesting. What these two stories we talked about this morning, New Orleans and this, have in common is it shows the Republicans, Trump and those around them, haven't yet made the transition from being outsiders to the party of government. They own the White House in less than 3 weeks, the Senate, the House. You've got a Supreme Court, shall we say, that's tilting in their direction. The reaction to New Orleans, getting the facts wrong, claiming this was about the border when it wasn't, shows where's the seriousness about Homeland Security? How are they going to deal with that? Then we have this story with Johnson, and they're going to be responsible for getting a budget passed, for getting legislation passed. And there's a major move that has to happen to become the party of government. And what this shows me is Donald Trump and the House Republicans, or certainly a number of them, are not yet ready, if you will. They haven't made the transition through the transition to become the party of government. They're going to own this in about 3 weeks. And what shows me, Jonathan, they're not ready.
Yeah, well, Trump has privately said all along that he much prefers campaigning than governing. And I think we're seeing that from his party as well, particularly those on the extreme MAGA right. They prefer to be the outsiders, throwing darts rather than being in there getting things done. Much more fun. It's liberating. Ultimately, you're not accountable. You're not responsible. Governing's hard. 90% of governing is not throwing darts. It's getting things done. It's the messy stuff of legislation, of implementation. People haven't yet dealt with the 90%. That's coming come January 20th. Yeah, no doubt.